Hey everybody, what is going on? We're here to talk about probably the most popular phones of 2020, the all-new iPhone 12 family. I got with me the Mini, the 12 Pro, and the Pro Max. We'll also talk about the 12, but which one is right for you? Let's talk about them. All right, guys, before we get into it, we're not paid or sponsored by anyone. My thoughts only. So let's talk about the smallest of the iPhone 12s, the Mini. I've been using this for a few days now, and a lot of people have said this, I'm gonna say it as well. It is a very cute phone, and this is a very fun phone to use. Now, when I reviewed the iPhone SE a few months back, I said in that review, I was hoping they were gonna come out with a phone like the 11 at the time, you know, full screen, Face ID, all that, but in the iPhone SE size, and they had done just that. This phone is great for people who are athletic, who are on the go, who don't live on their phones. Answer a few phone calls, send some WhatsApp messages, maybe watch a few YouTube videos, but that's pretty much it. They don't live their lives on their phones, and I'm very envious of those people because I don't do that. I live my life on my phone, so I need a bigger display most of the time. But for those who don't, this phone is beautiful. It is so much fun to use. It looks great. The cameras are fantastic. The A14 Bionic processor is fast as hell. The display is great. The only issue I'll have with the iPhone Mini, which other people have talked about, is the battery life. Now, it's not as bad as the SE. It is better than the SE, but if you're a power user, you're not gonna get through a full day with this phone. You're just not. But if you're someone that's gonna really push their phone to the max, to the limit, maybe the Mini might not be the phone for you if you are really worried about losing battery life on it. But besides that, honestly, I cycle, I run, I exercise. I love having this phone with me. And for a lot of travelers out there, if you're worried about losing your phone when you're overseas, when we can travel again, this might be a great secondary phone to have in your bag, because if anything happens to your main phone, you pop a SIM card into this and you are good to go. But those are my thoughts on the iPhone Mini. Great, cute phone, powerful, good camera system. But the battery life, wish it was a little bit better, but it's a very small phone, so I can't fault Apple for that. Anyway, now let's talk about the iPhone 12 Pro. Now, probably you're thinking at this time, Bobby, what about the iPhone 12? You gotta talk about that. Okay, let's talk about it briefly. It's the same as the Mini, except it's large. It's the same size as this. 2 cameras. It doesn't have that really glossy stainless steel bezel on it, different color scheme, but it's essentially the same phone as the Pro. And that's gonna be the phone that I would say most people will get into because of the price point, because of the feature set. It's kind of the best of all worlds scenario. Now, the Pro is when you're gonna go into something when you're more of a content creator. You want that third camera, you want that LiDAR sensor. You love that glossy stainless steel bezel around it that's just beautiful. I got the Pacific Blue in this and it's stunning. Then you want a little bit more refined look, I would say. Not that the iPhone 12 isn't refined, it is, but it has a little bit more of those fun colors to it, where the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max has more of those refined colors, that gold, that Pacific Blue, that graphite gray or black or whatever color they're gonna call it, and just that silver stainless steel. Now, also what's new on the iPhone 12 cameras, of course, is the LiDAR sensor. Now, we've seen the LiDAR sensor on the iPad Pro. And I've seen some of the developments that Apple's done in terms of augmented reality and using the LiDAR sensor, and it's very, very impressive. We are only seeing the beginning with that. And there are some applications out there that do take advantage of it, and you will see more as they come about. For me, how I use the LiDAR sensor, because of course it does help with autofocusing, they say at nighttime and things like that, but I use it for measurement because it's quite accurate, to be honest with you. So if I'm like measuring my room, or I need to measure something in my house, or where I'm outside, I've tested this with a measuring tape, and they're neck and neck. This does a tremendous job in terms of those things because this LiDAR sensor is really good. Yes, it helps with photography a little bit, but only when in lower light situations. So in day-to-day operation, you're never gonna see the LiDAR sensor really kick into gear. But I have a feeling Apple's really going to open up some applications and some more ways to use it in the near future. So I do see this sticking around for quite some time. But if you are into measuring things, like I am, I have fun doing it. It's kind of fun to go around your house and measure around the wall. It actually works really, really well. But what about the Pro Max? Is the Pro Max better than the Pro? On paper, Apple says yes. What are my thoughts? Let's talk about that. Now we're moving on to the 12 Pro Max. This is Apple's largest phone they have made to date. 6.7-inch display. It is beautiful. It really is a beautiful display. Great to watch movies, watch YouTube videos, edit your videos, edit photos. Now, the nice thing about the Pro Max versus the 11 Pro Max is that because of the flat edges on the side of this, it's much easier to hold, and it's slightly thinner than the 11 Pro Max. So Apple sort of redefined the ergonomics a little bit, which I appreciate, because while it is a big phone, it doesn't feel as big in the hand as I thought it was going to be when everybody talked about this, larger display and everything else. It still feels easy to hold. Now, of course, you can't navigate everything with one hand unless I'm holding it like this and I use one hand to do everything. So it's going to take a two-handed operation for the most part. But you don't get that phone because you're worried about one-handed or two-handed operation. You're getting it because you want to create content with this phone. You got image stabilization in the main camera on this, and also you have a larger sensor on the main camera of this, which is going to, they say let in more light. It's going to be a little bit better in terms of photography and videography and all that stuff. Now, Apple on paper says this is a much better camera system than the 12 Pro. And like other reviewers, I've tested this out, and of course I test a lot of cameras here on the channel. And my consensus is very much like what other people have said. It is slightly better, but it's not so much of a difference that you're going to notice. Now, you will notice a bit more in the image stabilization when you're using video versus the 12 Pro, but it's not a night and day difference. It's like, oh yeah, it's better. This is really good, but it's not going to be like the other phones aren't good at all. You know what I mean? And you got to give Apple credit for that. Their computational photography, what they've done with the 12 Pro and the 12 cameras is already really good. So the 12 Pro Max is a step up, but I have a feeling, and this is just my opinion, and I could be wrong on this, is Apple hasn't really maximized the potential of this camera sensor yet. And I think probably in future firmware updates, you will see more great things coming out of this sensor, because it is a larger sensor. You should be able to do much better low light performance in it, better low light video, all these great things. But one of the things that I do notice, of course, is the better video quality coming out of these phones. The video is fantastic. Apple's always been known to have some of the best video of any smartphone, and it is phenomenal on these iPhone 12 Pros and 12 Pro Maxes and iPhone 12s just in general. They're really, really good. Now, they have this whole Dolby Vision HDR thing going on, and which really helps you get much better quality video, better color gamut, all that great stuff. Now, if you're one of those kind of people that likes to upload video that you've taken from your phone, let's say to Instagram and other applications out there, you might find that these apps don't play so nice with this Dolby Vision HDR video content coming out of this iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max, because for some reason it can't read the colors correctly. So I was having issues with Instagram, for example, where everything was overexposed. It was blown out. The colors were all over the place. And the only way for me to rectify that was actually just turn off HDR in video mode. And yeah, it's not a big deal. It's easy to do. You just go into the general menu settings and turn it off. But hopefully these app developers will enhance their apps to take advantage of this. Of course, these phones are new, so it will take some time. But if you are experiencing that, turn off the HDR in your camera settings and you should be good to go. Also, in terms of HDR with photography, now Apple said they have improved this. They have made it less aggressive than before, and I'm glad they did that, because previously with a lot of the iPhone 11, the iPhone 10, when I was using the HDR, man, sometimes I was looking really old. My hair was almost gray because it was pulling out all the shadows and pulling out the highlights. It was all over the place. It's less aggressive on this, but I would love to control the HDR a little bit more out of these camera systems, because sometimes, yeah, it's using a lot of its AI, or it's using whatever it feels it needs to adjust the image to be perfectly balanced, but sometimes we don't want a perfectly balanced image. Sometimes I want a little bit darker shadows. I want a little bit more, a little bit more of an urban feel, maybe a little bit more dramatic feel to my image. And with HDR, you're not going to get that. So again, you might have to turn it off in the camera settings. It depends on what you like or dislike, but it's something that I wish Apple would allow us to, maybe fine tune instead of turning a switch on or off, but maybe like a little bit less, or a little bit of a dial that we could adjust it to our liking. And that way we could still have a little bit of HDR in our lives, but not so much that We show every pore and every wrinkle and every gray hair that we have so everyone can see. All right, guys, let's talk about sound for a moment, because sound will vary depending on the phone that you get. The Pro Max will be the loudest. It's the largest. The Mini won't sound as loud because it's the smallest. Rules of physics. But Apple has done a pretty decent job in terms of audio. Is it the loudest sounding smartphones out there? No, but it's got a decent sound stage for being a smartphone. So yes, I tend to set my smartphones on the side. I have YouTube Premium. I turn off my screen. I let videos play in the background when I'm cooking or when I'm doing errands or editing photos or videos. And I'm happy with the sound that's coming out of the phone. No issues at all with that. I'm not gonna bring this to a party. It's not gonna be my home stereo system or home speaker system. No, it's not that loud, but it does a decent job. So again, if you want the loudest sounding phone, get the Pro Max. If you don't care about sound so much, the Mini might be to your liking. But besides that, I mean, this phone has been a joy to use. Now, of course, I got the gold on this one because I want a little bit of bling in my life. I like gold. As I got older, I tend to like gold a little bit more than just stainless steel, and it is beautiful. Now, I put a case on all my phones, okay? I do this to protect them because they're expensive, and also Apple's cases are actually really good. The new 12 Pro cases are even better than last year's because they've got the flat edges on it, and I feel even the silicone material is even better than what we have on the Mini and on the Pro. Those are a much better case than I had on the previous iPhones, on the 11 and on the 10, and it's MagSafe compatible. Now, MagSafe, of course, is this new charging, kind of wireless charging technique that Apple has. We've seen this on the Apple Watch. We've seen a sort of a variant of MagSafe with the previous MacBook Pros, and MagSafe, I like it a lot, but it's not the fastest way to charge your phone. So for me, how I use MagSafe is when I'm at home and let's say I'm in bed or I'm on the couch and I'm kind of browsing the web or watching some YouTube videos with my phone, and I just want to kind of charge it as I'm going on. Now, usually I would, plug it in by the lightning port here, and that would sort of jut into my my waist as I'm sitting there. With a MagSafe, you don't have that, so it's a much more comfortable way to hold your phone in charge. But if you're looking for a quick charge, MagSafe isn't the way to go. I would definitely recommend using a 20-watt charger. Maybe it comes with your iPad Pro or your MacBook Pro, using the lightning cable and charging it that way. But if you're someone that just charges your phone at night when you go to sleep, MagSafe, no issues at all. Now let's also talk about some of the enhancements to the iPhone 12, and that's in terms of the ceramic shield. Okay, now Apple has touted this new shield that gives you better durability in terms of drops. I'm not gonna drop any iPhone, I'm sorry. We don't have that kind of channel here where we get multiple iPhones where we can drop. So I'll take Apple's word for it that it's a little bit more durable, okay? But in terms of scratch resistance, that's where I was hoping I would see a little bit more improvement, because Apple's screens, are known to scratch slightly easier than you would hope that they would. Even if taking it in and out of your pocket on your jeans, sometimes I notice some fine scratches coming out on my displays, and it just irks me. I would highly recommend getting some tempered glass display protector on it, because those fine scratches will eat at you, especially because these phones are so expensive. So I have to give Apple credit for that. They've really done a great job with their accessories. But besides that, on the 12 Pro Max, I mean, everything works as you'd want it to work. Now, people will say, well, Apple's not innovating as much as these other companies and this and that. Well, look, I test a lot of phones on this channel, and yes, there are some phones out there that have got some crazy gimmicks to them in terms of cameras and video features and all that stuff, but how much you actually use a lot of these features, it's hit and miss. The one thing I can appreciate about Apple is, they might be slower to adopt some of this technology, but when they do, it is refined and it works. Apple's camera systems, every lens that you use, the colors are the same. There's a uniformity to your images. So if you're in wide angle, telephoto, ultra wide angle, it all looks the same. Yes, there will be some slight difference in terms of sharpness in the corners and in terms of, nighttime photography, this and that. But of course, the cameras are different sizes because of what's inside the phone. But overall, Apple has done a tremendous job in just really making your photography, videography experience with these phones enjoyable, and it doesn't seem like you're losing out by using one camera lens to the other, if you're following me on that, okay? Now, you probably noticed in this review, I haven't talked a lot about specs and benchmarks and all that fun stuff because, honestly speaking, we all know what the iPhone delivers. I don't need to preach to the choir. You're watching this video because you're probably figuring out, Bobby, which phone do I get? Which phone is right for me? So let's answer that question for you right now. If you are a person that is highly athletic, you run with your phone, you jog with your phone, you cycle with your phone, that's what you use your phone for, your music, for communication, but you're not a person that's always browsing the web or watching YouTube videos or editing your photos or videos, I would say go with the Mini, okay? It's small, light, compact, and it will do what you need to do, and you can run with it without getting in the way. Having this on your arm or in your back pocket when you're cycling, it's a bit of a chore. Now, for those who want the 12, now for the 12, I would recommend that phone for people that just want a good overall phone, right? Great display. It's got the A14 Bionic chip, just like all the other phones out there. It's got 2 cameras instead of 3 like the Pro and the Pro Max. But if you're not much into photography or videography, save your money and go for the 12. Now, here's where it gets challenging between the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. As I mentioned, on paper, the 12 Pro Max has the best camera system Apple's ever put into a smartphone, right? And it is really good. And the 12 Pro is maybe 95% of what the Pro Max is, all right? So it really comes down to display. If you're someone like me, who does a lot of editing, I use Lightroom a lot, I use LumaFusion a lot, I use iMovie, I'm constantly editing and creating content on my smartphone, I'm gonna want a larger display, okay? And that also gives me better battery life, so when I'm out and about and I do need to edit this content, I don't need to worry about the battery life, all right? I would go for the Pro Max. The Pro for me is an enjoyable phone. I love the size of it, but I did find myself at times wanting a little bit larger display because yes, I do a lot of editing. That's what I do. As you see a lot of the photos that I put here on the channel for my camera reviews, I edit a lot of them on my smartphone, on the iPad Pro, and also on my MacBook Pro. So I edit a lot of that, but most of the time it's on the go when I'm out and about, I'm in the taxi, I'm on the bus, I'm at a restaurant waiting for someone, I'm always editing. Or if I need to put some content up for Instagram, I edit a lot of my videos on the phone and the iPad Pro, so I need a larger display. That's where the Pro Max comes in for me. But if you're someone that is not that big into editing on a phone, but you want some decent cameras, a little better than the 12 and the 12 Mini, then I would say go for the Pro. Okay, so Apple has created a kind of a phone for everyone here. It's just really you just need to nail down what is right for you. Okay, personally for me, I love the 12 Pro Max, but if I could have a secondary phone, it would be the Mini for my workouts and for my cycling and all that fun stuff, because you know, in a cycling jersey, they're really tight. I don't want to put a big bulging phone in the back and have it drop out when I'm in the drops on the bike and all of a sudden going, there went my $1,000 plus phone. I don't want that to happen. Even though I wear a case on the phone, you know, the display with this whole, you know, a ceramic shield, yeah, it's a little bit more durable, but I don't want to drop an iPhone, if you're following me. Okay. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the 12 Pro Max, 12 Pro, 12, and 12 Mini. Now let's move on to the Apple Watch Series 6 in graphite stainless steel. It is beautiful, and let's talk about that right now. All right, guys, we're now talking about Apple Watch Series 6. Now, if you want the Clip Notes version of this portion of the review, it's not much different than Series 5. To be honest with you, Series 5 was a fantastic Apple Watch, one of the best in all the watches they've made thus far. Series 6 is a slight evolution. You get better battery life, you get a faster chipset. Of course, you get that blood oxygen sensor in it now, and it just works a little bit quicker. But it's not a big difference from Series 5 that you're going to want to upgrade. Now, if you do need the blood oxygen sensor and you want to sleep tracking and all those things, okay, go for it. You know what I mean? But if it's not something that you need to have, I might wait for Series 7. But anyway, let's talk about Series 6. On my wrist, I've got the graphite stainless steel. Beautiful color. One of the things that Apple does every year the Apple Watch comes out is they tend to change the colors around a little bit. And last year I had that really black stainless steel color, which was nice, but if you had the black aluminum, there really wasn't much difference visually. This graphite stainless steel is a really nice, subtle, darker, just, you know, silver color, and it's classy looking, it's sporty. I've got on the red sports loop right here, product red, and it looks good on this. When I throw onto the leather band, which you'll see in just a bit, it looks even better. And of course, it comes with a Milanese strap as well. But besides that, it looks exactly the same as other Apple Watches out there. But let's talk about Watch OS 7, because this is where you're going to see a lot of the changes in the Apple Watch system altogether. Watch OS 7 has made things a lot easier. As you can tell, the UI is getting a little bit more smoother, a little more data that you want, but it doesn't overwhelm you. So if you're not a techie person, you just want the watch to like monitor your workouts and you know, various different things, your heart rate and your notifications, you're going to get all that. Siri works a little bit better on the Apple Watch Watch as well, so, hats off to Apple for always improving Siri. Now, a lot of the changes you're gonna see in Apple Watch Series 6, yes, as I mentioned, there's an upgraded processor and some new sensors, but from day-to-day usage, you just notice it's a bit faster, a little bit more fluid. There are some new additions. Let's say when you're working out, you have something for weightlifting, but I don't notice much of a difference between that and others when I'm like in a gym doing it. So it just monitors my heart rate and everything else. But it's an improvement, and Apple's slowly improving Apple Watch to incorporate more physical activities out there. So if you're into Pilates or workouts, various different things, you're gonna find a lot of those workouts in the watch now versus what you had previously. Also, in terms of you got sleep tracking in Apple Watch Series 6, I don't wear my watch when I sleep because I toss and turn and I wanna bang my head. So for me, it doesn't really make a big difference, but for some people out there that really need to monitor your sleep, you have that in the watch as well. The blood oxygen monitor, I mean, if I want to be honest with you, you show it to a couple friends, you're at 98%, 90-some percent, and then you don't ever use it again. So I kind of don't know why it's there. I mean, maybe there will be more things that'll take advantage of this sensor in due time with firmware updates or, other software developers out there. But as it stands right now, I find it not really needed. I mean, I would have personally rather seen a body temperature sensor in this because, here in Singapore, for example, we always have to get our temperature taken. And it'd be nice to have that on my watch. So let's say when I put on to the morning or I'm out during the day, and let's say my temperature rises or it goes down, it alerts me to say, hey, look, your body temperature is here. Maybe you need to check yourself out or just double check it with a physician. That would be nice to have. You know what I mean? I think a product called the Oura Ring has something very similar. And that would have been nice if Apple would have taken some of that technology and put it into the Apple Watch, because it would just make the Apple Watch something that we would want to wear even more so than what we do right now. Because as it is right now, I wear it, let's say, when I'm, going out to work out, just running errands, get my notifications on my wrist. But when I have something like that, man, I probably would wear it almost every single day because I want to make sure that I'm healthy and I'm safe, especially with the pandemic going on. But maybe that's a firmware update. I don't know. If it is Apple, it'd be great if you could put it into the watch because I think this would benefit a lot more people than, let's say, the blood oxygen sensor on it, which I still don't know how to utilize it for my daily life. Besides that, though, Apple Watch Series 6, it works. If you're on a Series 3 or Series 4, I would say definitely go for it. If you're on a Series 5, I would say wait for the Series 7, maybe the Series 8, just depending on what features are there, because look, if it's just incremental upgrades, it's, save some money because these Apple Watches are getting quite expensive. But now let's talk about accessories for the watch. On my wrist, I've got the Sport Loop. And when I first saw this announced, and they've got the braided one as well, I was a bit like, really? But the watch straps are already really good. Why would I want to get this? Then I bought one. I decided, let me sprint for when I'm going to do it. And I get it. I absolutely love this strap. The reason being is when I'm cycling or doing any sort of intense workout, I don't need to worry about anything getting in the way, a buckle catching on my clothes or anything like that. Even though the Apple Watches, the straps already were really good, it just disappears. It just becomes one with my wrist. It doesn't flop around. It's great for any sensor that I want to take because it holds the watch steady on my wrist. But it's just great, which is something that I want with my smartwatches. I don't want to run around or cycle or jog and just always be reminded I've got this big thing on my wrist bouncing around. And that's what the Sport Loop does. I do have to tell you though, the prices on these are pretty expensive. Case in point, in Singapore, the silicone version is 69 Singapore dollars, and I believe the braided one is around 140 some Singapore dollars. That's a lot of money for a strap. That's how Apple's making their money back on these watches though too, which fair enough, they make really good quality straps. But I was like, the braided one at 140 something, I was like, ouch, my leather one is about the same price, which is full leather. So, I mean, yeah, I get it. It's braided and it's a little bit more intricate in design, but Apple, could bring the price down a little bit. Help us all out. These watches are not that cheap. So that leads me into the leather strap, which I got the latest version of that, and I absolutely love it. Beautiful black on the outside. It's brown tan leather on the inside, and the magnets hold it well. It's got a nice design to it. It gives the watch a more sporty, kind of classy vibe to it. I love it. Not cheap, coming at 147, 49 Singapore dollars, but the quality, I'll invest in that. The braided Sport Loop, gonna stick with the silicone, save some money, and spend it on something else. But anyway, overall thoughts on the Apple Watch Series 6. It's a great watch if you need to upgrade. If you don't, stay with what you have, because it's not a big difference from what we've seen on Series 5, but it's still one of my favorite smartwatches on the market currently, and I highly recommend it to any of you out there who want to get it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the iPhone 12 Pro, 12 Pro Max, and the iPhone Mini, and of course the Apple Watch Series 6. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. It means a lot to the channel, and we'll chat to you soon. Take care.